Hey, what's going on, guys? From Gaming here, back with another video. Today's episode, I'm going to talk about adjacency bonuses and overbuilding and what that is in Civ 7. So, this is something I've been kind of looking up a little bit. I kind of read about it a little bit online, and I think I've got it down. And I did an entire game. I got like halfway through the exploration age, and all my cities were built out, and I didn't take adjacency into account. So, I decided to just go ahead and restart because all my cities were jacked, and it was fine. Like the game was going good, but I wanted to restart and just kind of build my cities out with a plan in mind. So that's one thing that's really cool and unique about Civ 7 is you can kind of plan out your city, and based on what's around you, you can strategically place different like districts and buildings to get something called an adjacency bonus. So let's take a look at what that is. So I have a city, I believe it's over here on the right, and you can see I have something that I can build, a garden, a granary, whatever. So let's go ahead and build a granary. And looks like I don't have any bonuses from there. Let's try a library, actually. So right here, you can see, if you look over here on, when I move my mouse, the tooltip kind of moves. But you can see on the left over there where it says adjacency bonuses right below the plus sign. And you can see I'm getting +1 science from the east. So what does that mean, east? So I'm getting +1 science from this building if I build it here due to this resource. So let's go take a look at what that even means. I'm getting an adjacency bonus from a resource. What the heck does that mean? So we have sort of a cheat sheet here that I found on Reddit. And you can see we have wonders on the left and food, gold, production, science, culture, happiness. So this refers to buildings in Civ 7. So any building that makes food or gold, production, science, culture, happiness, right? So if we build these types of buildings around these specific tiles, they will get something called an adjacency bonus. Now, this also matters for wonders as well. So any sort of buildings that you build around a wonder will get these different bonuses as well, these adjacency bonuses. So typically what you want to do is you want to build your buildings around either a wonder or you want to build a specific category of building around these specific tiles. So all of your granaries, anything that makes food or currency like a market, you'd want to put around water or a river, sawmills, libraries. You put those around resources, which is the example that we just took a look at in our game. And anything that produces culture, like a monument, you'd want to put that around a natural wonder or a mountain. So if we go back to our game here, and we go back, we look at the bottom left, we see that adjacency bonus again, right? +1 science from east due to the resource. So if I build this, we have a worker currently working this tile. So let's just go ahead and build it here. And what that's going to do is it's going to take the clay pit out, and it's going to head and put in that library. So we'll go ahead and do that. And then now we get to reallocate our citizens so we can put him in whatever tile we want just for the purposes of this video. We're just going to stick him right up here, put a woodcutter there. And now this tile, again, is going to get that adjacency bonus due to being next to resources. So another example is I have a library here that's next to this cotton. So that's getting an adjacency bonus as well. And the idea of all this is when you're mapping out your cities and your buildings, you want to try to put them in areas that make sense. So you can see I have a whole bunch of resources kind of in between my two cities, in between my 3 cities here. So what I want to do is I want to put my libraries, my academies, anything that's going to produce science kind of in the center here and kind of start to build out my quarters and my districts for science kind of here in the center. Or the same thing could go for production buildings as well. So we said science needs to go around resources. It could also be, again, our production buildings like a sawmill. Okay, so that's all good. We have where we want to put our science and production buildings, again, here in the center. So now where do we want to put our granaries and our markets, or things that's going to make us a lot of food and currency? If we remember from our graphic, any sort of granaries or markets, you're going to want to put around any sort of water source. That could be a river or ocean or coastal tile. So you kind of see here, as these cities start to grow in towards each other, this is going to be a great place to put any sort of buildings that produce food or any sort of buildings that produce currency for us. So we kind of have our food and currency hub kind of right here. We're going to have our production and science hub. Let's kind of talk about happiness and culture now. So it is kind of unfortunate. We do not have very many mountains in this specific terrain that we're on. And we can't kind of see where these 2 cities, will, as they kind of grow out, we'll probably get this mountain range here and we can put some things around these 2 mountain tiles, but we really don't have much to work with. So it's just kind of unfortunate. But what we can do is we can take our culture buildings, and we can keep it out of these specific areas and maybe put it somewhere like here in the middle. We can even put a wonder in between all those specific culture buildings as well and get that additional yield on them. So there is still some strategy there that we could utilize. Now let's quickly talk about districts and quarters. So we can see that we have some buildings here. There's two different classifications of districts. There's the urban district, and then there's also the rural district. So we can see right here, all these buildings, that's going to be an urban district. And then this here is going to be a rural district. So long story short with that is if you put a building on it, it goes to an urban. And then if you do an improvement, instead, it's going to be a rural district instead. Now, let's go ahead and talk about quarters. So what's a quarter? So quarters in Civ 7 is when you put two different buildings within the same district. So let's just go ahead and click on our capital here. Let's select our altar. You can see we have all these different blue dots here. And that's just basically saying, hey, you have an empty slot here and you can put another building in this specific district. So when I do that, then that district is then upgraded into something called a quarter. Now, quarters are very unique and they can be very, very powerful because basically you could put two of the same type of buildings within that specific district. And if you map everything out correctly, both of those buildings can benefit from all the adjacency bonus around them. So basically, if we go back to our previous example, we said we can make this like our science alley, for example, and put a whole bunch of libraries and academies down here. Well, what you can do is you can actually upgrade those into quarters and get basically double the benefit from all that adjacency bonus. Now, depending on the civilization that you do pick, they each have something called a unique quarter. So if I build two of the unique Greece buildings within one quarter, then it becomes a unique quarter and it gets a Greece specific bonus. And I don't think that I have it unlocked yet, unfortunately, but they can basically build an Odeon or a Parthenon in one specific tile, turn it into a unique quarter, and it will get a big science bonus on it. So that's something to keep in mind, right? We know that this is going to be our science and production alley. So we want that unique quarter to be built somewhere in this line here. Now, another thing I'm going to talk about really quick is something called overbuilding, right? So I just want to keep going back to the same example. So we said that we're going to build a whole bunch of libraries right down this alley. Well, at some point, those libraries will become not the best, right? You'll be able to get something called an academy later in the game. And overbuilding allows you to replace these low yield buildings with higher quality buildings as the game goes on, right? Because we don't want these low level libraries sucking up all the adjacency bonus. We would rather build something better on top of that to get the adjacency bonus. And the reason you want that is to increase the yield on each tire. You want that yield number to be as high as you possibly can for whatever you're focusing on, because there's a whole bunch of different percentage based scaling that you'll run into throughout the game, whether that's through a specific government that you pick, whether it's through a specific policy that you pick. And the higher that base number is, the more value you'll get out of any sort of percentage-based bonuses on those specific tiles. So what I mean by that is, let's say we put all of our markets here and this becomes kind of our gold hub. If we go into our resources here, you can see that we can actually allocate jade to one of these specific cities. Say it's Argos here, and this is the city that's making us all of our money. If we're getting 15% more gold from this city, we're going to make sure that we have the best buildings getting all this adjacency bonus that we possibly can to get more scaling from that 15% bonus. So I'm kind of going off the rails here talking about that a little bit, but it's very important to have it's better to have a few really good tiles in this game than it is to have a bunch of subpar tiles, just due to the way that scaling works with bonuses and everything. Then as the game goes on and you have these 2 or 3 really strong hubs, that's where you'll funnel all of your specialists and get even more scaling from those few specific tiles. So yeah, that's kind of, again, kind of overbuilding in a nutshell. You want to try to overbuild on any sort of weaker buildings that you have as you kind of progress through the ages. So yeah, that's pretty much it in a nutshell. I just want to make a quick video on it. I'm still learning. This is only my second game that I've started. So if I missed anything on adjacency or anything like that, please put it in the comments below. We'll try to get all the information that we can on the specific topic. I think it's kind of interesting to be able to plan your cities out like this. I think it's really cool. It kind of gives Civ 7 a unique twist that previous games didn't really have. And I think this is a really overlooked aspect of Civ 7 that makes it really good right now. I know that there's a lot of people kind of down on the game right now, and I completely understand that there are some things that I don't like about it as well. But I do think that the city planning like this is a really cool aspect of it. So I'm just trying to wrap my head around it more than anything. So this is just what I learned. Just wanted to share it with you guys. If you learned something or if you enjoyed it, please consider liking and subscribing to the channel. We'll see you on the next one.